For over 4 decades, Pakistan's missiles have targeted India. And now they could target the United States as well. And that's when the game changes, it seems. Because on the 18th of December, the United States announced sanctions on 4 Pakistani entities who are contributing to Pakistan's ballistic missiles program. Well, you would remember that the United States looked the other way over the last few decades as Pakistan developed a nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles program. Pakistan's nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles were built with Chinese assistance. China, in fact, supplied Pakistan with blueprints of nuclear weapons and is also believed to have tested a weapon for Pakistan in the early 1980s. It later supplied Pakistan with ballistic missiles and the means to make them. But in the 21st century, Pakistan became a frontline state in the war against terror, first under President George Bush and later President Barack Obama. Pakistan was designated a major non-NATO ally by the US, which needed Pakistan for its war in Afghanistan. But today, the United States is no longer fighting in Afghanistan, and Pakistan is the only Islamic country with a nuclear weapon arsenal and the ability to deliver those bombs using intermediate range ballistic missiles. It could potentially threaten the United States in the long run. Let me quote what the US Deputy NSA John Feiner said just last week. Pakistan has developed increasingly sophisticated missile technology, from long-range ballistic missile systems to equipment that would enable the testing of significantly large rocket motors. And if these trend lines continue, Pakistan will have the capability to strike targets well beyond South Asia, he said. What are these trend lines that the United States is talking about? And by when will Pakistani missiles be able to target the continental United States? Joining me to discuss this are 2 of the foremost experts in this field. Dr. Sudhir Mishra, a DRDO missile scientist who was former CEO of BrahMos Aerospace. And I also have with me Lieutenant General P. Ravi Shankar, former DG Artillery, who's also involved in research into hypersonic weapons. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus show.
Good afternoon.
Thanks a lot.
Dr. Mishra, I want to start by asking you this. What really are the building blocks for an intercontinental ballistic missile project, of a kind which is over 10,000 kilometers? The one that would make the United States very worried about a country that develops them?
Actually, any intercontinental ballistic missile needs to have large and powerful rockets.
Yes.
And the propellants, large propellant manufacturing facilities and capabilities.
Right.
To prepare the rockets for launch.
Right.
And the second important thing is that the mobile launchers,
Yes.
which will be able to move the missile from one place to another, if it is a land system.
Right.
Third is the guidance system,
Right.
which will enable the missile to fly over so much of distance without deviating from the path.
Right.
The third important thing is the warhead.
Right.
They would prefer that if it is a multiple re-entry warhead,
Yes.
then this will give a completely different kind of capabilities.
Right.
And apart from not only the manufacturing, the testing and the qualification facilities are very important.
Right.
So they are very important part of development of any ICBM.
Right. Absolutely. So, thanks for setting it up, setting our discussion up, Dr. Mishra. The fact that you've given this whole range of capabilities that Pakistan obviously possesses to now threaten the United States, which is why they've imposed sanctions on this. General Shankar, we've been over this many times in the past. The fact that Pakistan has a very robust, ballistic missiles program. They may not have enough money to feed the population or, pay salaries, but they seem to have a very robust missile program that would give them the capability to strike North America. How valid are these American fears that for the first time they've actually imposed sanctions on possibly a major non-NATO ally, as the US called Pakistan?
Look, the sanctions are very, very valid. The fears also are very valid. Why? Pakistan has operated ballistic missiles and cruise missiles and all kinds of missiles for quite some time.
Right.
Hitherto, the range of these missiles was up to the Indian subcontinent
Yes.
and beyond. But today they are testing rocket motors which are larger with better capability. And if you can manufacture these rocket motors of the size which are required, which, as Dr. Sudhir Mishra pointed out, you have cause to worry,
Right.
right? And the technology for this and the wherewithal for this is available with them to them through the Chinese.
Right.
Because it's the Chinese who did the proliferation earlier,
Yes.
and also the North Koreans, because they
Right.
got the missile technology from the North Koreans, which
Yes.
again started from China,
Right.
and the nuclear technology from China directly,
Yes.
which you mentioned in the opening thing. Now they have this capability. The fact also is that there's a huge expansion of their navy.
Right.
If you remember, a few days back,
Yes.
our naval chief also said that, and a lot
Right.
of submarine capability coming up,
Yes.
and that's going to be, all this is going to be situated at Gwadar along with the Chinese capability.
Right. Right.
So this is the second aspect, are they going
Yes.
in for a triad?
Right.
The third aspect is that, they have tested out MIRV capability.
Yes.
So that capability also kicks in. And the fourth capability, which is of concern to me, is the fact that though Pakistan does not have a space capability,
Right.
because if you have to have an intercontinental ballistic missile capability,
Yes.
you need space capability.
Right.
And that space capability they don't have.
Right.
That space capability will be given to them on a plate by China.
Right.
So
Absolutely. Yes.
once you put all these three things together,
Yes.
it's a threat. Now, the
Right.
threat is just not to the USA alone, it's
Right.
to India also,
Absolutely.
right? And it goes beyond the Indian subcontinent into the Indian Ocean region.
Right. If you look at it, I
So
was just
you're-
looking at the ranges, General Shankar. It actually encompasses Diego Garcia, their Shaheen 3 missile,
Yeah.
and very interestingly, all of Israel as well. If you look at
Yes.
the range, so would Pakistan be the only Islamic country today which, of course, has the nuclear weapon, but now has the ability to deliver those
Deliver.
weapons?
Yes. Yeah. When you compare it with Iran, Iran doesn't have that capability.
Yes.
And one of the things which has come out in this recent Iran-Israel war is Iran doesn't have the ISR capability.
Yes.
I keep talking of this ISR capability always. If you don't have the ISR capability to stitch all these things together,
Right.
the whole capability is a waste. But we know Pakistan does not have a space program,
Right.
but China has. And in this, it's not only, this is, Pakistan is a cat's paw.
Yes.
Now, China is using this cat's paw. So far, it had used it against India.
Right.
Now it will use this as a cat's paw against USA.
Very,
also.
very interesting observation, General Shankar. The fact that China had this one cat's paw against the South Korea and Japan, which was North Korea.
Yeah.
Now it's got Pakistan in the south, which is used against India. And of course, you're saying it could also use it against the United States as well. That's a
Yes.
very interesting observation.
Yeah. Now, when you say the United States assets are in the Gulf.
Yes.
And in Diego Garcia.
Right.
And of course, it augments Chinese capability in the Indian Ocean region.
Right.
And it challenges India's dominance of the Indian Ocean region. Then, of course, we also need to understand if North Korea can proliferate
Right.
missile technology and nuclear technology to, Pakistan.
Yes.
Pakistan can do the same thing to Bangladesh.
Right. Okay.
And which means that Bangladesh tomorrow might, given the bonhomie which you see today
Yes.
between Bangladesh and Pakistan,
Right.
there's a new chapter opening up.
Right.
And also factor in that if the submarine capability which they're expanding slowly turns into a triad capability,
Right.
we need to rethink the whole affair.
Right, absolutely. A very, very expansive array of threats you've outlined, General Shankar. And that's the reason I keep coming back to you, because you have the perspective that few others have. But Dr. Mishra, we all know the fact that Pakistan's nuclear arsenal and indeed its missile arsenal is imported. Your colleagues in the DRDO have literally intercepted and studied those shipments on board that merchant ship that came in the late 90s, if I remember correctly, which was coming in from North Korea to Pakistan. So we know all of these capabilities that Pakistan has, the ballistic missile capabilities from North Korea and from China. Is Pakistan trying to become another North Korea in South Asia, another regional headache which uses its nuclear weapons and its missiles to extract concessions from other countries of the world?
I completely agree, Sandeep. In fact, Pakistan is very well known for the proliferation of nuclear and missile technology.
Right.
And if you look at their political, economic, defense, social, educational system, it is
Yes.
completely collapsed.
Right.
And this is beyond rejuvenation.
Right.
And their only hope is to become North Korea.
Right.
And this North Korea model has completely impressed them. They feel that this kind of model where they can blackmail rest of the world and adding it to the religious rhetoric and frenzy, it will give them enough capability to
Right.
blackmail rest of the world. So this is one thing. The second is Pakistan has always tried to steal, whether if it comes to the nuclear technology or the missile technology. Nuclear, you know that their program has been stolen from the Europe and the Canada. And the missile, they have taken help of North Korea, China, and surprisingly, Ukraine also.
Yes.
And
Belarus, if I may add, they've also used Belarus for those launchers, those mobile missile launchers as well. There were some sanctions on Belarusian entities.
Yeah, and interestingly, you see, the Shaheen is only 2,700 to 3,000 kilometer capability.
Right.
Whereas the distance from Pakistan to Israel is around 3,400, 3,500 kilometers.
Right.
So what they want to do is they want to threaten Israel with the nuclear attack. This is number one.
Right.
But
Right.
Shankar told that Dua Garcia and I tell you, the whole Europe also they want to threaten. And
Right.
the model is very simple.
Yes.
Become another North Korea, ask for the money, ask
Right.
for the funding, ask for the food. It is such a pitiable thing. And
Right.
it's very true that Pakistan is, earlier the other countries have used Pakistan against India.
Yes.
Now China will use Pakistan against US and other developed world.
Right,
Very
right.
true.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a good model. I mean, this North Korean model that Pakistan seems to be following, that you become a global headache and then extract concessions from them, which is the likely course ahead, it seems like. But General Shankar, explain to us that why does Pakistan really need missiles that have a range of 3,000 kilometers? If you're looking only at India, then you can cover India, the entire Indian subcontinent, which they have with a range of about 2,000 kilometers. Why do they want a missile that has a range of over 3,000 kilometers? And as the US was mentioning, they're building larger rocket motors, which would suggest they have a program for ICBM capability, which is 5,500 kilometers. Why would the Pakistanis need all of this?
See, we must understand all these weapons are weapons of strategic significance.
Right.
And they're not tactical or operational in nature.
Yes.
They give power to a nation.
Right.
This capability is probably the way for Pakistan to revive itself in the Muslim world and
Right.
as a frontline state.
Right.
Whose frontline is a different story.
Yes.
Earlier, it was the front line for USA against
Yes.
in Afghanistan. Today, it might be a front line for China against the rest, or
Yes.
it might, that's a shady way to go.
Right.
But it's all about revival of power.
Right.
And this philosophy they've brought down from China because China believes, their expansion of their nuclear capability gives them power
Yes.
in the global order.
Right.
So Pakistan, which is today in the dumps, seeks
Yes.
this capability to go up the value chain.
Right.
Second, North Korea and China, I have always argued, follow a strategy of nuclear coercion and
Yes.
missile-based coercion.
Right.
Okay, and they have been using missile power as a coercive tool of statecraft.
Right.
So if they do use, isn't it time for Pakistan to also start using?
Absolutely. As
I mean, the
Dr. Mishra
logical thing.
mentioned, borrowing from the North Korean playbook.
Yeah, that it's just the right time. And so this is a strategy of coercion with which we have to deal. That brings
Right.
me to one more point, and it's a very important point.
Yes.
The point is that, look, it's time India, USA, and Israel
Right.
recognize this common threat
Right.
and start working, on a common platform, how to negate it.
Right. Very, very
I
interesting observation there again,
think
General Shankar. I'm going to
USA
ask
has
Dr. Sudhish
to
Mishra
start
this.
dealing with
This three countries which have a problem with Pakistan's missile and nuclear arsenal, that's India, Israel, and the United States. Dr. Mishra, all three countries, India has already been in the crosshairs of Pakistan's nuclear weapons program for the last 4 decades. Israel, as we've just discovered, is possibly the next country on that list, and the United States eventually, a decade from now. What is the via media for these three countries to come together and tackle Pakistan's nuclear weapons program, Dr. Mishra?
You see, before we take this question, I would like to add that the statecraft of coercion
Yes.
by a bankrupted country.
Yes.
I think this can be title for your new book,
Right.
Sandeep.
Statecraft
And,
of coercion.
Statecraft
I'm
of
taking that
coercion
down,
by
yes.
by bankrupted country.
By bankrupted country, yes.
By bankrupted country. You see, how to handle
Yes.
this such kind of thing can be handled only by the defense diplomacy.
Right.
And of course, there is a problem with the Pakistan. The problem is they are completely economically finished.
Right.
They know it very well.
Yes.
And they would be needing some help to feed their countrymen
Right.
and provide the basic amenities.
Right.
And as long as they get it, they would be fine. Socially, they will not implode.
Right.
You see, it's a good idea to
Yes.
ensure that no country implodes. We have seen Bangladesh imploding in our
Yes.
neighborhood.
Yes.
We also have seen Sri Lanka undergoing an economic crisis.
Right.
We don't want Pakistan to implode because if it implodes, it will create
Yes.
a lot of problems, and it's a
Right.
nuclear power.
Yes.
So we have to ensure that economically it is secured. Number one.
Right.
Number two, Pakistan has to ensure that India means a peaceful neighbor. We
Right.
never want to, merge Pakistan with India. We are happy with whatever we have,
Right.
and this has been conveyed at the World Forum by our Prime Minister also.
Yes.
That we are looking for peaceful world.
Right.
Third is that Pakistan has to come to peace with itself. It will not come from outside. It has to
Right.
come from inside.
Right.
How to make it from inside? This they have to discover. They have to find out.
Right.
The solution will not come from outside. It will come from inside. But their emphasis, their wish to project themselves as a Islamic power,
Yes.
which is having the nuclear capability,
Yes.
this wish has to be somehow suppressed This
Right.
has to be told to them that it's not acceptable.
It's
And
not acceptable, of course. Dr. Mishra,
yes,
let me ask General Shankar this. I mean, how, General Shankar, how would joint action between the United States, Israel, and India play out? These are three countries that are threatened by Pakistan's growing nuclear and missile arsenal. The United States is the most recent entrant into this club. Israel a few years back when the Shaheen 3 became operational, and today, and India has always been there, and today is the United States. What possible measures can these three countries adopt? And firstly, and I wanted to ask you this as well, do sanctions really work? The kind of sanctions that the United States has put in, can they hold Pakistan's missile arsenal, freeze it at 2024 levels?
First and foremost, sanctions won't work. Let's be very clear, they have not worked. Historically, they've never worked, and it
Right.
will not work against Pakistan also.
Right.
That's the first part. The second part is, it's as a fourth afterthought, it's not only Israel, India, and USA which are at risk. Even
Yes.
the rich Gulf countries are at risk
Right.
because they'll be blackmailed to bankroll Pakistan. Let's not forget that, because this
Yes.
gives you the power to say, okay, now cough up money.
Right.
And revive my economy and everything. So
Right.
it becomes a bit of a lethal affair.
Yes.
Now, how do you defang? Ultimately, you have to defang Pakistan.
Right.
I mean, as simple as that. How do you defang Pakistan by, and sever its connection with China?
Yes.
That's the major problem.
Right.
Okay. And for that, you don't have any straight solutions. You can't appeal to Pakistan and say, please don't develop your missile systems.
Right.
They'll just laugh it off. And we have to also recognize that we are dealing with two Pakistan.
Yes.
One Pakistan is the bankrupt nation of teeming millions,
Right.
right? And the other is a rich army
Yes.
with a whole lot of capabilities.
A rich army with a
Now,
very
these two things we
crooked
have
feudal
to,
elite, which is immune to all of these sanctions
yes,
and
the feudal
hardships.
elite, all these sanctions
Yes.
and all that. So you have to target them somehow. You have to target their nuclear weapon systems and their complexes
Right.
in some manner. And of course, their entire story of missile production centers and all that.
Right.
And the way I look at it, it's only hybrid measures which will work ultimately.
Right.
And if India, USA, and Israel sit together, I'm sure we'll think a way out.
Right. Absolutely. And those are
And
ways
more than that, I
we-
can't even state on this open channel.
Yes. General Shankar, I'm sure there's some interesting solutions you have which you don't want to discuss with us. But Dr. Mishra, the US has imposed sanctions. That's a reality now. Can these sanctions freeze Pakistan's missile development at 2024 levels, or is it only a matter of time before it actually becomes a full-fledged ICBM fielding state?
I completely agree with General Shankar. The sanctions will not work.
Right.
The sanctions, there would be some solution to bypass them.
Right.
There is a China which would be very
Yes.
happy to provide the
Right.
capabilities
Yes.
to Pakistan. And the secondly, you never know. They might have already acquired the design, development, and manufacturing capabilities.
Right.
Because the military, they always think 5 years, 10 years ahead of the present time.
Yes.
So the sanctions will not work. What will work is a coercive diplomacy
Right.
by the developed world against Pakistan.
Right.
And this coercive diplomacy has to be added with the economic support
Right.
that possibly may work.
Right.
And you see, as we rediscovered that there are two Pakistan, one developed,
Yes.
the second one is Hungary Pakistan.
Right.
Hungary Pakistan can be taken in a way which I suggested, and the developed Pakistan, I mean
Yes.
the military Pakistan,
Yes.
that can be taken care of by blocking their bank accounts.
Yes.
There are many ways to
Absolutely.
handle their
No, very, very good observation there,
process
Dr. Mishra.
problems.
The fact that, Pakistan, which is, we used to call a regional headache, has now become an international migraine, or at least threatens to be an international migraine when it starts threatening the United States and European countries with its missiles and nuclear weapons. But great points there from this discussion with General Ravi Shankar and Dr. Sudhir Mishra. The fact that coercive diplomacy and harsh economic sanctions are required to tackle one of two Pakistans that exists today. There is a poor, underdeveloped Pakistan which has no say in its in which way the country is developing, and the other is, of course, the developed Pakistan, the feudal elite, the Pakistan military industrial complex that actually controls the narrative, and which is the reason why the United States has taken the first step. What are the next steps going to be? This is a story that we're going to be tracking very closely, because what happens in Pakistan impacts the whole world. Thank you very much for joining us, General Shankar and Dr. Sudhir Mishra.